Hey everyone, Internet busiest book reader here. Today I want to talk about the quantum universe, everything that can happen does happen, by Brian Cox and Jeff Forshaw. First, let me get things clear. I am nowhere near an expert in physics. My education only goes as far as a few books and some videos from Kurzgesagt, Bismarck, or Kyle Hill. I'm not kidding in my bio when I said I'm too dumb to read some of this book, and most of the point in this book will flew over my head. But I do still like to read them if I had the chance, and as per usual, I found an interesting book in a second-hand bookstore pile and I got them. The book itself is by Brian Cox, who I know mostly as that physicist with the most calming voice. Teaming up once again with Jeff Forshaw, a physicist who specializes in quantum chronodynamics. To oversimplify it so it makes more sense, these are people who have or still is working with Large Hadron Collider data at CERN. Quantum theory itself is one of the three pillars on how our universe works. Einstein's special and general relativity and how gravity works is the two others, while quantum theory explains everything else. So there are a lot to cover just from this one theory. The book itself will try to explain as simply as possible on what quantum theory is, which is arguably not possible, but at least they tried. It will explain many of the history on quantum study that has existed since a long time and named eventually by Max Planck in 1900s. One of the most significant discovery after that happened during an experiment in 1925, where it is proven that light, despite being a wave, also works like a particle. Man, it bounced instead of, just stop. This discovery moved us forward from classical physics to quantum theory. It's basically probability. Suppose you throw a coin enough time. Suppose one day it lands on its edge. That kind of probability. And since it's a book that contains a lot of this theory, the book makes sure to also explain what makes a good scientific theory, then explain some of the most famous experiments regarding quantum theory. One of them is of course the double slit experiments, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard before, which is where electrons was fired to a double slit, and the expected result is it was particle it will go like this, but instead the resulting experiment showed that it is a wave like this. Because unlike how nature works, which is usually either particle or wave, somehow in quantum level an electron are both particle and wave. Again, to oversimplify probability. There's also a lot of historical theory and their mathematical formula in the book, but no need to get jump scared. They'll mostly just explain the formula. They didn't ask us to do the math or anything like that. Some of these formulas include Schrödinger equation, Heisenberg uncertainty principle, Planck constant, and then there's Feynman theory. You know, Feynman that appeared in the Oppenheimer movie for a little bit. The book goes on to explain the building block of the universe, which is atoms, which consist of electrons, protons, and neutrons, while protons and neutrons themselves are made up of smaller entities called quarks. Understanding how this works is what enables us to know how energy works at such a smaller scale. It enables us to make and use hydrogen atoms to make battery and conductor, which later on will enable a computer to become mobile phones. There will be a lot of people who claim that knowing this doesn't matter, which they're right. For people who don't care, their life won't change whether they know about physics or not, but for those that are interested, it is one of the most interesting and exciting fundamental knowledge on how our universe works. I think rather than feeling bored about our life and the world we live in, then start believing nonsensical propaganda and easy conspiracies, read physics. Trust me, they're wildly fascinating. I mean, there's even a place where a cat is both alive and dead at the same time in quantum theory. They're much harder to understand compared to conspiracy theory, which in its essence has to be easy to understand, but physics are much more interesting. And if you want to try to start reading further into them, I highly recommend this book. It is far less entertaining than the YouTube channels I mentioned previously, but it has more information that you'll most likely won't get from them. Well, it doesn't make me or you an immediate expert on the subject after reading it, and I am nowhere near completely understanding what I've read after reading it just once. Everything that I mentioned in this video is still me oversimplifying the explanation given in the book. But I do understand a teensy tiny bit more compared to before I read this book, and it is thanks to how well written it is. Both authors really tried their best to make the book easily digestible. The only disadvantage the book have other than the difficulty of the topic discussed is that it sometimes use words that are rarely used, like teleological. But other than that, it is well written with great pacing. I give this a 3.25. That's about it.